The first sign something was wrong didn't come from headlines or scandals, it came from silence. In a palace where routine was gospel and timing precise down to the second, a few missed beats were all it took to shake the walls. A door that stayed closed a moment longer. A tea tray that never arrived. Staff who suddenly had urgent tasks when Camilla entered the room. First glance, it might have looked like forgetfulness, but this wasn't forgetfulness. This was protest. The target, Queen Camilla. The reason, Princess Catherine. Now, this wasn't some shouting match or public scandal. Buckingham Palace doesn't work like that. It breathes in whispers, and those whispers had turned into a silent war. The staff, the people who polished the silver, arranged the flowers, pressed the uniforms, and handled the 1,000 invisible tasks that make royalty look seamless, had chosen sides. And they chose Catherine. Why? Because for them, Catherine wasn't just another royal face on a glossy magazine cover. She was different. She knew their names. She noticed when someone looked tired. She once sent soup to a sick maid's quarters herself, without the cameras, without the fuss. In a place obsessed with hierarchy, she treated them like people. That doesn't get forgotten. So when Camilla made her move, a move that didn't just insult Catherine, but wounded her in front of staff and foreign guests, it didn't go unnoticed. That night changed everything. Camilla thought she was putting Catherine in her place, but in doing so, she put herself squarely in the crosshairs of a quiet, calculated rebellion. It happened at a royal dinner. Not a grand televised affair, just a private engagement with dignitaries, the type meant to showcase unity and charm. But behind the sparkling crystal and careful smiles, Camilla struck. No raised voice, no thrown drink, just sharp words in front of the wrong people. Catherine froze. The silence that followed was colder than the porcelain plates between them. What hurt wasn't just the words, it was the timing, the setting, the intention. Camilla had picked her moment, and everyone at that table knew it. So did the staff standing by, and what they saw wasn't royal discipline, it was cruelty, calculated and cold. The next morning, things were different. A butler stepped back before handing Camilla her drink. A door didn't open quite fast enough. Her tea went missing. These weren't accidents, they were messages. In a place where rebellion doesn't wear banners, it wears indifference. The whispers started with the maids, then the footmen, then even senior aides who had served under multiple monarchs. She crossed the line, one said quietly. The line you don't cross, everyone knew what that meant. You don't humiliate Catherine. See, Camilla had always been tolerated, respected for her title maybe, but loved? No, not by the people behind the scenes. And when she targeted the one royal who had earned their genuine affection, something broke. The staff didn't organize a coup, they didn't need to. Their power came in the day-to-day, in the details, the power to serve or not. For days, Camilla tried to ignore it, told herself she was imagining things, but it wasn't in her head. She'd lost them. Catherine never asked for their loyalty. She didn't have to. She'd earned it years ago through quiet grace and consistent kindness. And now, without saying a word, she stood at the center of a storm she never asked for, but one that was now reshaping the monarchy itself. Camilla's breaking point came faster than anyone expected. At first, she brushed it off with clipped remarks and forced smiles. But Buckingham is no ordinary workplace. It's a machine built on precision, where even a missing napkin signals unrest. So when the little things kept slipping, notes not delivered, requests ignored, faces suddenly blank, it didn't take long for her to realize she wasn't imagining it. The staff were turning against her. She snapped behind closed doors, demanded to know who was responsible, called meetings, raised her voice. The Camilla who had once strutted with polished control now cracked in front of her inner circle. And that's when it got worse, not because of what she said, but because someone recorded it. A grainy audio clip. Lost over 2 minutes. Camilla's voice sharp, breath heavy, accusing her staff of betrayal. She threatened firings. She demanded names. She said flat out that she was being sabotaged from within. The clip made its way into the hands of a well-connected reporter and from there into the press. The headline was brutal. Royal meltdown Queen Consort unleashes on palace staff. In an instant, Camilla's carefully guarded image shattered. No longer the dignified partner to a troubled king, but a woman unraveling under pressure. And the comparisons to Diana, they started fast and hit hard. Diana, the people's princess. Catherine, her successor in grace. Camilla, now cast as the villain again, only this time without the excuse of public ignorance. Inside the palace, the fallout was immediate. Senior royals held emergency meetings, damage control experts were summoned, but the problem wasn't just optics, it was internal. The people who made the palace function, the hands that cooked, cleaned, dressed, and guarded, no longer moved with loyalty. And then came the moment that changed everything. A handwritten note, fragile, private, never meant to be seen, found accidentally in a stack of correspondence by a staffer who wasn't even supposed to be there. It was Catherine's. Ink slightly smudged, dated weeks earlier, no fancy signature, just emotion, honest and raw. The kind of vulnerability you don't expect from someone with a title. In the note, Catherine wrote about feeling unseen, about the pressure of constant scrutiny, about the ache of being betrayed, not by strangers, but by someone who shared her table. I ask only for peace within these walls, she wrote. I ask not to be defended, but to be respected. Those words hit like thunder. Staff passed the note around quietly, respectfully, like it was sacred. Some cried. Hardened attendants who'd never shown emotion in 30 years of service blinked back tears, because it confirmed what they all suspected. Catherine had been suffering in silence. The note didn't stay hidden long. It reached William, and when he read it, something inside him shifted. No more patience, no more quiet. He summoned Camilla himself. The confrontation was not polite, not ceremonial. William, the future king, didn't speak like a prince. He spoke like a man whose wife had been hurt one too many times. He asked Camilla point blank what she was doing, why she'd crossed so many lines, why she had chosen humiliation over unity. Camilla tried to spin it as duty, that Catherine was getting too much attention, that things had to be balanced. William cut her off, reminded her of Diana, reminded her what that kind of cruelty had done to his mother. And then he said it, the one line that would echo forever in palace halls: no one, not even you, gets to break her spirit. And with that, the quiet rebellion turned into something else entirely, a reckoning. The event was supposed to restore control, a grand reception full of polished silver and diplomatic smiles hosted inside Buckingham's glittering ballroom. Dignitaries from across the world stood under crystal chandeliers, sipping champagne, expecting the usual pageantry. What they witnessed instead was history unraveling. Camilla stepped into the room with her usual grace, head held high, a calculated smile fixed in place, but the moment she called for assistance, the illusion shattered. No one moved, not a footman, not a maid. The entire room noticed, even the orchestra hesitated, as if the silence had weight. A moment passed, then another. The queen consort stood alone, arms still half raised, frozen in disbelief. The staff weren't being sloppy, they were making a statement. Gasps echoed around the room. Some guests turned away, pretending not to notice. Others whispered. Cameras flashed once before being quickly lowered by handlers who knew a scandal when they saw one. Camilla's face tightened, but she didn't lash out. Not this time. Rage had already failed her. All that was left now was the sting of public rejection. Then came the entrance that stole the evening. William and Catherine arrived with quiet confidence, walking side by side like they owned the room. No fanfare, no exaggerated gestures, just presence. The kind that drew every eye without demanding attention. Staff bowed, not to Camilla, to them. For Camilla, the humiliation was complete. In a palace built on power dynamics, she had just lost the one thing that mattered most: control. It wasn't stripped from her by decree. It was withdrawn, moment by moment, by the very people she once believed were beneath her notice. Charles watched it unfold from his place across the room, his expression unreadable. The king who had once risked everything for Camilla now sat trapped in silence. His health, already a quiet concern, left him with little energy to confront the chaos, and perhaps even less will. By the next morning, the press had everything. Leaked photos, eyewitness quotes, phrases like palace revolts and silent coup filled the headlines. Camilla's reputation, long fought for, was in freefall. Commentators debated openly whether she could survive the fallout. Inside royal circles, the question was no longer if she had lost the staff, but whether she had lost the monarchy itself. But Catherine never gloated. She stayed quiet, unshaken, and that more than anything sealed the shift. Her silence was powerful. While Camilla's rage made noise, Catherine's composure created gravity. It reminded the world and the staff that dignity still mattered. Letters continued to appear in Catherine's quarters, notes slipped under her door, folded messages tucked into flower arrangements. All handwritten, all heartfelt. "We stand with you. You are not alone. Thank you for seeing us." It wasn't just loyalty anymore, it was love. Camilla retreated from public view. The official reason given was rest in privacy, but those inside knew better. She had lost something she couldn't reclaim. The crown still sat on her head, but it no longer meant what it used to. Not when the very people meant to uphold it looked to someone else. And so, without a formal announcement, without ceremony or declaration, a shift occurred inside the palace. Catherine became more than the future queen. She became the heart of the monarchy, not by demanding it, but by earning it. In a kingdom built on silence and tradition, the staff had spoken, not with their voices, but with their actions. They had chosen not just a woman, but a symbol, a quiet kind of power, the kind that couldn't be forced, only followed. And in that choice, they didn't just reshape the palace, they redefined who truly wears the crown.